in their final preseason game, 126-120. Modest Buzelis scores 19 points. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And the Chicago Bulls get a win in the preseason finale, 126-120. This was a game where a lot of the players that we hadn't gotten seen a lot of over the preseason did get to play. Of course, we were led in scoring by Modest Buzelis, who just continues to just look like he's ready to make that next step for the Chicago Bulls. 19 points, going 8 of 13 from the field, 2 of 5 from three-point range. He had 1 rebound, 1 assist, 2 blocks, 1 steal, filling up the stat sheet for those 19 points. And you love to see Modest Buzelis just finish the preseason as strong as he played throughout this preseason. We'll talk about his overall preseason on tomorrow's daily episode, so keep in mind with that, we're going to do a full analysis of it because Modest Buzelis has been balling, man. Say what you will, have the doubts what you will about this Bulls team, but Modest continues to show that he is that bright spot for the future of the Chicago Bulls, and he has not disappointed in that at all. He continues to play so well for this team, taking players off the dribble, giving the defensive time. He missed probably like 3 opportunities at the rim because of either being fouled or other things. Like, he missed highlights. He tried to get blocks at certain times. He tried to dunk over 2 players at a certain time. Like, Modest just seems, I got to admit, it's preseason right now. We'll wait to see what happens in the regular season. But as things stand right now, I'll say this, like, Modest he looks prime to make a step in the right direction, both offensively and defensively this season. And that is what the Bulls hope for. If your 21-year-old player can be one of the reasons why you make a forward step, that's what you want to see. And Modest looks like he's ready to contribute at all levels for this Bulls team. And I got to give hats off to the way he's been played. He's played so far this year. He's played amazingly well, and hats off to him. Josh Giddy had another solid game today. 14 points, going 5 of 10 from the field, 0 of 2 from three-point range. He did get to the free throw line 6 times, which was really good for Josh Giddy. 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 1 steal. Josh Giddy is looking more and more like himself over the last couple of preseason games after a slow start, which he did have an injury with the ankle and stuff like that. But Josh Giddey's looked more like himself that's going to run that offense, run the show for the Chicago Bulls, and hats off to that. The Bulls also did something different today, is that they ran a double big lineup. And we got to see Nikola Vucevic out there with Jalen Smith, and both these guys played well today. This was Vucevic's by far his best preseason game. The first time he scored in double digits throughout the 5 games in preseason. He only played in 4 of those games, but he had 13 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists in this game, 3 turnovers, but Vucevic went 5 of 12 from the field. Still 1 for 4 from three-point range. We know we want to see Vucevic take less threes, right? We want to keep him around the rim as much as possible. Jalen Smith, in his first start in preseason, 24 points. He goes 5 of 9 from the field for 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks in this game. Modest Buzelis and Jalen Smith combined for 5 blocks. That's what having size can do there for you. Now, this isn't going to hold on in the regular season. It's not about the stats. It's not just about the results. But when you see how playing a double big lineup, especially against a team with legitimate size like the Minnesota Timberwolves, and what the Bulls were able to do in that today, I think you got to look at that. So really good performance from those guys, but we got to talk about it. Julian Phillips, who has not been mentioned at all in the battle for the starting 5, hasn't played. I think he played in the first preseason game. And then he played in this one. Julian Phillips, for as much as you can try to make a mark in a preseason game, he did that. We'll talk about the offense, but Julian's defense, and the reason why I want to focus on the defense of Julian Phillips is because that's one of the reasons why, there's talk of, Isaac Okoro being in the starting lineup, right? Like part of the reason that there's conversation for that is because of the defense that he's going to bring to this team. I tell you what, Julian Phillips rotated really well. He guarded 4 positions at times tonight, right? He was able to rotate on guards, forwards, those type of things. Rudy Gobert gave him a little juke move at one point in time, but Julian had a really strong game. He got to the free throw line 6 times just by being active. 17 points today. He was +9 from the field, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. Julian's kind of become the guy that we haven't talked about a lot because we haven't seen him. But keep in mind, last season, the last 20 games, Julian would get off the bench before P. Will. Now, P. Will has had himself a solid preseason for the role that he's playing as far as being that 8th, 9th, 10th guy. But I would love, and not to knock P. Will, but I would love if Julian makes that more interesting of a case as the season goes on, because not only is Julian younger, not only is Julian, he has 1 year after this year that before he goes into restricted free agency, but I think Julian has a lot to offer this team. He can get out in transition. He can play defense and guard multiple positions. He can protect the rim a little bit. And so I don't want to count out him or Dalen Terry. Dalen had some of the best defense that I've seen from anybody guarding Anthony Edwards all preseason. All preseason. And it was legitimate. Like, you see Dalen Terry and the pride that he takes in trying to lock down somebody defensively. That's something that the Bulls can need there too. So I got to give credit. Julian and Dalen today really took some time out and gave the Bulls some really quality minutes. Julian Phillips had 17 points on 5 of 10 shooting, if I didn't say that. Dalen Terry was 2 of 9, but he also had 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. If you could merge Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips, and you can get them to do the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance, you'd have the perfect 7th man to come off this bench. The perfect one. But you can't do that, right? And so that goes back to the nature of what Billy Donovan had talked about before the game, of not allowing the rotations to be stagnant and not allowing them to be set, going to your bullpen basically and pulling out what you need as far as the skill set of that day. And we'll dive into that a little bit more on tomorrow's daily episode. But hearing that from Billy Donovan, that he's more open to those different types of lineups, really makes you think. I think bullpen is probably the perfect phrase to use for it, because that's what it feels like, right? Like, you got your guys that are for sure in your rotation. Trey is probably going to for sure in your rotation. Io for sure in your rotation when they're healthy. Zach Collins probably for sure in your rotation. But when you look outside of that, like, if you need transition and defense, you can go Dalen, you can go Julian. If you need defense and 3-point shooting, you can go P. Will, right? Even, I know I don't like him, but I'll even say the ball-headed hoe, a.k.a. the garbage time gobbler, Javon Carter, may himself have earned him some minutes in some specific situations, right? All those things, and that's what preseason is about. It's not about the result, so to say. It's about the process. Who shows up? Who's putting in the work? What are the skill sets? How do you see that fitting together, right? That's what coaching is about, and that's what this team, this coaching staff is going to have to find in this, is how do they want those rotations to fit together? How do they want those to go? And if you can find your path there, you can find a nice versatile lineup. We got a lot of talent. I've been arguing about some people that are like, well, just because you have a lot of bodies doesn't mean you have depth. This Bulls team has depth. I'm telling you that. Mark my words. Hold on, let me just make sure that ain't my baby texting me. All right, that's business. That's locked on business. But you have those versatile lineups that you can go to. And this team does have some depth, man. Kevin Huerter, not a great game. He was 2 of 10. And I've been trying to remind everybody that before the Bulls got Kevin Huerter, he was shooting 30% from 3. Now, he caught fire coming here to Chicago, but Kevin Huerter was in the midst of his 2 worst shooting seasons before he came to Chicago. And, hopefully he's going to be able to get that together. And we haven't seen Kobe at all, but I think overall there's been some really positive things to take away from preseason. And the Bulls are an exciting team. I'm telling y'all. I've been saying it. For those that have been around, you'll know I've been saying it this whole time. I really do believe this is a Bulls team that is going to be competing and trying to get and has a chance to be above 500 this year. I really do. You can call me a homer. You can call me crazy. You can call me whatever you want to. But I really believe this team has a chance to try to be 500 this year. I truly do. And, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? But, a big part of that is going to be how they can get out and start off the season. I think they have to start off the season really well. They cannot have a slow start. They start off against 3 or 4 teams, all projected to be in the playoffs. So that's going to be tough for them. But the garbage time gobbler. That is what I called it, the garbage time gobbler. But yeah, we'll see what this team can do, man. I think that this is going to be a team that's going to surprise some people. And for Bulls fans and other people that really think that this team is just going to be automatically trash, that they have no chance or whatever, the people that like to be like, oh my God, but we haven't done XYZ in 10 years. I'm telling y'all, the Bulls are building something here. Now, we'll see how successful they're going to be in what they're trying to do and trying to accomplish. But I'm telling y'all right now, this team has some talent here. This team is not going to be one of those teams that just fade into the night and suck. This is going to be a team that competes. This is going to be a team that fights hard. I really believe that. And we haven't even gotten to see Kobe this season. So a lot of positive things from this team, I think, and we'll see. We will see what happens with that one. But let's go ahead and get into the comments. Because I changed streaming software and I haven't yet gotten the overlay to put the comments on, I can't put your comments on the screen, at least I don't think. I'll figure OBS out for that. If anybody knows how to use OBS and knows a plugin where I can put the comments on the screen as I'm reading them, please. I'm old. I'm 38 years old. I'm still figuring out OBS. But with that said, let's see how you guys are feeling about this. Scott Willis says, if the garbage time king, a.k.a. the garbage time gobbler, Javon Carter shot like he does in the last 5 minutes all game, he would be an asset. Got me stuffed how he can shoot like crap for 3 quarters, then nailing pull-ups, threes in the last. He's done that all preseason. And that's why I call him the garbage time gobbler. He gobbles up those garbage time minutes, and he plays really well in those minutes. It's honestly pretty crazy, the stark difference that you see between the two. By the way, for those that don't know, part of the reason why I did switch my streaming software is that you should be able to watch the streams now in 4K. You should be able to watch them in 4K live, but nonetheless, should be a lot higher of a bit rate for you guys to get better quality video out of the stream. So there you guys go on that one. Let's see. Let's go. I've seen enough. Start Collins over Vooch. You're crazy. You're crazy. But I get why you say that. Vooch has had a terrible preseason. Vooch's preseason has not been good by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not going to try to sell it as if it has. It's been a bad preseason for Vooch. And Vooch is going to have to. But like I said this too, and this isn't necessarily to throw Vooch any bail, but this is real. There's a lot of veterans who don't necessarily give their all in preseason because they know that's not what they need to do. So there you go on that one. Let's see what else we got. Rankel says, Jew came back like I need to put my bid in for the starting 3. No, but all jokes aside, he looks clearly improved. Yeah, Julian Phillips looks really good. He looked really good today. He looked intentional. Like, for somebody who's missed so much time this preseason with injury, he didn't look like it hurt him at all, like it limited him or that he was hesitant because of it. He looked ready to go. So shout out to him for that one. Melvin says, I haven't watched much of the preseason game, so I'm not sure if it was just this game, but I'm liking how we are attacking the paint more and more than ever, especially Billy using the big man lineup. So this was the first game of the big man lineup, Melvin, but no, the Bulls have done a pretty good job at attacking the rim. We've been getting to the free throw line. I think other than last preseason game, we've gotten to the free throw line at least 29 times every game. We got there 43 times today. Now, preseason basketball is a lot more, sloppy at times, so I do think you're going to see more foul calls in general, but the Bulls have attacked the paint. They haven't done that thing where they settle for threes or they're spamming the non-quality threes, right? There's been some of that, but not nearly as much as what it was for, the majority of last year. Rob says, hopefully Julian can stay healthy and get on the court. Games like this, we'll need him. Yeah, and you want depth, and Billy Donovan talked about it in media day, right? You want guys that are ready when their number's called, meaning that even if they don't have, the most consistent minutes, when you need to call upon them, they're ready to contribute, whatever that looks like, that they're ready to give you something to contribute. And if Julian can be that guy, there's going to be a role here for him this season, for sure. O'Shea, shout out to O'Shea. That is my son's middle name. Says, Forrest, I noticed that too. They need to play together in the starting. Nobody peeping Modest and Phillips both ran on the break, and Modest threw Phillips an alert because Phillips knows to run fast break. Yeah, listen, the Bulls are still going to be that team that's dangerous in the fast break, right? And how they get to the fast break is going to be really important this season. And watch that. Like, with Modest taking a step defensively, you're going to see him be able to create more fast break opportunities with his length and activity, right? And so that's going to get him opportunities, because if you're the person that starts the fast break by I almost said tipping the ball, which is fine, but that's a pause moment, by forcing a turnover, that makes you the most dangerous one to finish. And so look out for that from Modest, right? Let's see. Matt says, do you feel better about the Giddy contract after Jeremy Lamb signed Murray for 5 years? I felt fine about the Giddy contract before. Like, I felt good about the Giddy contract before. I didn't need anything to make me feel better about the Giddy contract. $25 million. Let's just put this in perspective. Jakob Poeltl makes more than Josh Giddey. Tyler Hero makes more than Josh Giddey, right? I'm naming Keegan Murray. Like you just said, he's making more than Josh Giddey. There are players that are decent, like important role players, but role players nonetheless, that are making more than Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey's contract's fine. It's perfectly fine. Vern says, sup drip, good for win for sure, but how much of this changes from Donovan is because he's out to prove he's not just some average head coach, because he can be just as dominant as he was in college? I don't know it's that. I don't know that Billy Donovan's sitting there like, damn, I got to show them, I got to remind them who the fuck I am. I don't know if that's Billy Donovan, but I do think having a younger team full of more versatile players, right, that it does probably put him a little bit in that college mindset, right? Because you have a team full of players that are, young. You only have one player making above $20 million. That's Josh Giddey. A lot of young players on this team that are hungry, and I'm sure it has some of that similar feel there, right? And so when you don't have to massage egos, which, keep in mind, like, he benched Zach LaVine. We never saw him bench somebody again, right? Having younger players that all know that they still have a lot to prove, it does change the tone around the team. It changes the energy around the team. And so, I'm sure that there's some of that going on in that locker room in Chicago as well. Let's see. Sydney says, so are we saying both the Bulls and Bears have potential to actually be good this season? Yes. And I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know. When's the last time the Bulls and the Bears were both good? The year the Bears went to the Super Bowl, because I think that's also the year that the Bulls beat the Miami Heat, the defending champion Miami Heat, in the playoffs. I believe that was the same year. Somebody fact check me on that. That was probably the last time that we had a postseason run from both the Bears and the Bulls. So, I mean, this is unnatural territory. And when that happened, I think the year that the Bears went to the Super Bowl, I was 17. So, like, it's been a minute. Let's see. Reginald says, the way Io playing in the preseason is great, but do you think Io will keep this level of play up in the long run? Like, here's the thing, right? And I want to make this distinction, and hopefully this makes sense. Do I think he can keep up this level of play? Yes. But the level of play does not necessarily mean that the statistical output is going to be the same, right? So I'm not saying he's going to average 17 points per game coming off the bench. I think it's possible, but I do think the impact that he made, right, that's going to stay the same, because he can do it defensively. He can do it offensively. Io seems like a player that also is now understand that thing of, this is how I can get to the rim whenever I want to, right? This is what I can do. This is what I do that is hard for other teams to stop. And if he keeps doing that, that's just going to help him. It's going to help him grow. It's going to help him help this team, especially being that guy off the bench for this Bulls team. Dan says, somehow the Trey Jones looks like a life insurance when there's no Kobe Io on the floor. Yeah, I mean, listen, fit. That's the thing. You remember in 2021-22, or was it 2021? Whenever, when Lonzo was here, when Lonzo and DeMar first got here, that team looked good. And then when Lonzo went down, we had nobody to replace what Lonzo did. Josh Giddy and Trey Jones are two very different caliber of players. I want to be clear there. The caliber of players that they are very different. But the skill set is very similar. And so if Josh Giddy goes down for 3 to 5 games, Trey Jones can come in and you don't have to drastically change your play style because of it. Now, then you're going to need Io is going to increase off the bench. You're going to need somebody like a Dalen Terry or Julian Phillips to step into the void that's there as well. But you can keep up the style of play. And I think you can tell that was a focus by this front office, is that they have identified a way that they want this team to play. And then now they went out and found guys that fit that style of play. And that's the important thing, right? So now if somebody does go down, you don't have to completely change the way you play basketball. Now, I'll say something like, if Kobe goes down, we don't have somebody that can score the ball like Kobe can, right? But you can do it as a team. Or maybe Modest steps up in those moments. Io, who's been a solid scorer at times, steps up in those moments. It's different, but it's similar, right? So there's a lot of redundancy on this team. And I don't mean redundancy in a bad way. I mean it in the positive sense that if somebody were to go down for a little bit, we have talent that can hold up for a little while. Right now, I think if you lose somebody for 30, 40 games, eventually that comes back to bite you. But there's redundancy, positive redundancy built into this roster. And I think that's going to help this team keep up the style of play, both in the bench and in the starting lineup. And just if we do have somebody that needs to sit for a while, we can keep stuff up. Brazil Popular says, Noah showing energy and effort out there too. Phillips and Terry were great. Yeah, Noah Essengay, only 9 minutes from him. I don't know what that means, right? This was the last time for him to kind of show, hey, I should be getting some NBA minutes. And so only 9 minutes from him, I think that kind of tells you he's going to start off the season in the G League, which I don't think many people, well, not start off the season. G League season doesn't start to November. So that first 3 weeks of the season before the G League season starts, I don't see Noah really getting in unless it's garbage time, right? So we'll see. Arrow Batch says, in my opinion, if Williams, Phillip, Terry, and Smith can make a step forward this year, we can win another 7 to 10 games more than last year. I mean, that's 49 wins. That's almost a 50-win team on the high end of your projection there. I mean, I've learned to say that nothing's impossible, and I want to be clear there. Nothing is impossible. This team is going to have to get out and just play solid from start to finish. We cannot have a start to the season where we start off like 3-8, right? 3-8 is a pretty bad start. So we'll see. The first 10 games for this Bulls team are going to be really important. Let me get this. Give me 1 second. I just want to pull this up, and I want to see exactly what the first 10 games are. So our first 10 games are Detroit, Orlando, Atlanta, all teams projected to be playoff teams in the Eastern Conference. Sacramento, 2 games against New York, which are the second best team in the East. That's your first 7 games there. Then Philly, Milwaukee, Cleveland. That's the Bulls' first 10 games. Out of that first 10 games, the teams that are easy on paper, easier, I should say. Sacramento, which always plays us tough, and they can put up points. Say what you will, they can put up points. And Philly, but I tell you what, don't count out Philly. Not with Maxey, and McCain's not there. Edgecombe and everybody else is healthy. Dembana, right? They got Johnny Broom. They got some pretty nice players there. So that's a difficult start to the season. That's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. And so if the Bulls can get through those first 10 games and be 500 or better, right? I'm just putting it at 500 or better. If you can go 5-5 through your first 10 because of the teams that you're playing and the gauntlet that puts you in a pretty good spot. That's a tough start to the season. And then even after those first 10, you're then San Antonio, Detroit, Utah. You better listen. Don't fucking lose to Utah. All right. But outside of that, then you got Denver, Portland, Miami. I mean, the whole first month of the season, from October 22nd to November 22nd, there's maybe 4 games on that schedule that are easy. That's a tough start to the season. So we got to see what this Bulls team is going to be ready to do. We got to see if they're going to be what they're going to do. But hey, if they can make it through that, I feel pretty confident in my prediction for them to be 500 or above this season. Sydney says, why do you feel like this team will be above 500? Also, I do need you to say this. Do you think we'll be better than Sacramento? Yes. But why do I think? Because we didn't get worse. We won 39 games last season. That's 2 games below 500. And at the start of that season, we were still playing Zach LaVine basketball, right? Because he was still here. And so I think because of what we have this team, as far as our play style of getting out in transition, getting up threes, if we can add some physicality and defense, the growth of Modest, the growth of Josh Giddy now being in their roles for the second year in a row. Kobe White coming into the season, the number one. Health. We're fully healthy, right? I feel like this team did not get worse. This team didn't get any worse. So, I think if they continue to play as a team, and that's the thing that really made this team special over the last part of last season, is the connectivity between this team to play as a team. And if they build off that, the sky's the limit really for them, man. The sky is truly the limit for this team. So we just got to see if they can do it. I hope that they can. We got to see if they can do it. All right, let's see. Rob says, Detroit won 45 games, which is not that many more than the Bulls last year, and most act like Detroit will be a top 6 seed. I don't know about that. I need to see more from them, not 1 year. Well, Rob, the difference is that they have a true star. And Cade Cunningham blossomed as a star last year. We saw glimpses of it before. But I think when you have that star that's proven it, you're gonna be favored more. Like, for example, if Modest plays the way that he played in preseason for an entire season, best believe the Bulls are going to be picked to do more wins next season, right, than we're coming into this season. So, that's just the nature of having a star player. But I also think they're a well-coached team, and they're a solid team. They have some really solid pieces that fit together. So we'll see. Forrest said they have another season in Philly, a cousin in Philly. That's crazy. Brett says consistency is hard for young players to find, similar to finding or building chemistry. Need to take care of the ball across the roster. But the turnovers, absolutely, Brett. You're spot on there. We got to get those turnovers play into the slow starts that we had for sure, right? So we got to be better in those areas too. KG says, I agree, Haize, with these guys showing they worked on their craft. They should be better. Yeah, for sure. Vern says, do you think Vooch stays in Chicago all year? I told you guys, I think if Vooch isn't traded, they're probably going to try to get him to sign an extension so that they can trade him in the offseason, similar to what they did with Lonzo Ball. That's kind of what I see happening. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. Matt says, Bulls will also be better because Ayo is available. Didn't he miss half the season? He was gone for a lot. He left and came back, and then they eventually shut him down for the year. And then even once we found out that Ayo's shoulder injury initially happened in the 2023-24 season, but it went undiagnosed, right? So Ayo seems ready this year, and he seems locked in as well, and like a player that's also gotten better. So those are things that are going to play into the hands of the Bulls as well. But yeah, overall, solid preseason. The Bulls finished the preseason 3-2 with some things looking better than what they did last year. They've made some steps, and players look like they've made some steps in their game too, right? Which is the most important thing, is the players making a step in their game. And so, why is that low? There we go. That's better. So the players have also made a step up in their game. So, we'll see. We shall see what's going to happen here, man. I'm really excited about the season. I know not everybody is, and that's fine. That's their prerogative if they don't want to be excited about the season. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a fun season for the Chicago Bulls. I think not to say this is going to be easy, not to say that it necessarily means that they're going to finish the season as one of the best teams in the East or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but I do think that this is going to be a fun season for the Bulls, and that we're gonna have some fun this year. I really do think that. So, we'll see how that goes. This is going to be a season that really kind of helps dictate that path for the Bulls and what that next phase, what those next steps really look like for this team. Vern says, if we could get more consistent play from our centers, we'll be fine. Thought Jalen was inconsistent. Oh, Jalen Smith was definitely inconsistent last year. That's why he found himself out of the rotation by the end of the year, right? So, that is what it is. But Jalen seems motivated as well. He seems like he understands that he needs to be a lot better this season than what he was in prior years. And let's just hope that continues for him as well. Like, there's talent on this team, and that's something that I've been saying for a while. There is some real talent on this Chicago Bulls team. We just have to get to a place of extracting it. We got to get to a place of doing it consistently. And if we do, when we do, hey, listen, this team can surprise some people this year. I really do think that. But that is my time for tonight, y'all. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are amazing. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well if you're not subscribed to the channel. We have a goal of getting to 30,000 subscribers this season. We're a little over 4,000 away from that goal. So make sure you guys stay in tune with us there. But you can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all.